Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, Mu'min and Mu'minat and viewers. This is your host, Syed Jamil Ahsan, with another episode of discussions with Dr.Naweed Syed. And for the namesake, we have Dr. Naweed Syed with us as an expert. We also have Amira Jafri and Faryal Zara as participants. So we'll be, after a brief overview of what we have discussed and what the program is about, we'll move on to questions from the participants. So just to recap, this program is basically a part of QaimTV's TV's theme of Maktab Ahlebait in 2050, whereby we are discussing on aspects of where do we want to be as lovers of Ahlebait, as Shia, as Nashris, or Shias, Shia fiqh, following Shia fiqh. Where do we want to be in 2050? How successful we want to be, and what do we do now to get there? That's the basic theme of it. This particular program, we have picked up a topic, topics that are related to youth, and that's why this program is in English. We have so far had four episodes on where we have discussed on education. This program will be the last on this topic. In the coming programs, we'll be talking about job seeking, and we encourage our youth, whatever part of the world you are, if you have a question, you can ask that question send that question on the WhatsApp on the numbers that are on your screen below. And if you want to participate, let us know. These programs are recorded on Zoom, and you can easily participate, whichever part of the world you are. Having said all that, I would like to start today's program. So we'll start today then with Faryal. Faryal, do you have a question for Dr. Saab, or any comments on any of the discussions that we have had in the last program?
Yeah, for sure. So my program this time is not academic related. It's mostly not academics, but like the practices of doing amal, like monthly amals, or like amal for a specific thing to get accepted. So what I've seen is that people have these very lengthy amals, and it's just like, oh, you have to do like 100 tasbih, or like you have to do like a lot of like namaz or like stuff like that. But like, is it like necessary for someone to follow all of them? Because what I personally do is I look at the amal, and whatever sits best with me, whatever I think, like if I do this, and like my heart will be in it. But like if there's like some certain amal that I know I'm gonna get like tired in, or like something like I would lose interest in between, or I would like start thinking about something else. So what I try to do is I choose the amal that sits best with me, and then I do that. So my question would be, so for today's youth, is that a right practice to do? Is that like something that's encouraged, or is it something that you should push yourself to do, like all the amals, even if your heart is not in it?
So thank you for asking that question, and may Allah bless you for your courage as well. So I think, the first thing that we learned in our religion was la ikraha fid din. There is no compulsion in Islam. Nobody can force you, tell you that you have to do it. And somebody once asked Imam Ali alayhi salam that, how can I get closer to God? And maybe, in the company or closer to Allah. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, you just say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. That's it. You actually connected. So I think, it's the quality that is very important rather than quantity. And quality in a sense that if you said something once in your heart, and Masumin have taught us time and again, the ritualistic practice, it is for those people who are really maybe new to the faith, and the religion is new to them, and but for them to learn, they may have to practice a few times. But even when we are reading namaz, for example, when you are reading ba Jamaat namaz in Zohar and Asr, the last two rakats are recited quietly by Maulana, and everybody does. And that is the practice run. So the first two is for you to learn, the second two that you can actually do it yourself. So I think, it's when you are studying, that is your worship. When you are helping someone or you're doing service to community, that is your worship. That worship will mean much more than you just being like a parrot or a rat thing, you know, rotting completely in a circle, going on and on and on and on. And we used to do that 200 rakat, and we are going like fly, you know, hovering over, you know, honey, boom, 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 boom. And it meant nothing other than you really getting scars and tiring ourselves out. So I think don't get carried away or get compelled that way. If you say this once in your heart with the purity of your, you know, essence and spirit, that will bring you closer to Allah, rather than really doing all of these ritualistic things. And you know, those reputations are meant for you to be able to spend some time, and you don't know which particular moment you will connect. You will connect with the Almighty, because these prayers and salats are when we talk to Allah. But it doesn't have to be on the prayer mat. You're driving a car, you can still talk to Allah, you know, by thanking Him for all the blessing that He has bestowed upon you. So I think, you know, yes, you know, people do this, but you need to make sure that you do what is befitting for your needs and your time. Your time spent learning and serving is far more important than actually, you know, doing these ritualistic things that your heart and mind is not in it.
Mm-hmm. I actually wanted to add on to Fariel's question. How do we like physically and mentally prepare ourselves for like the Mal approaching soon, and like just like the month of this month? Like, how do we like physically, like, is there a way to physically and like mentally prepare ourselves to like better our Mals?
So, you know, the way you could really prepare yourself is to see the actual importance and the occasion of that particular amal, as to why, you know, those amals are. If it's a Shab-e Qadr amal, if it's Shab-e Juma amal, you know, those amals are really meant for you to be able to spend some little bit of extra time out of your busy schedule to connect. And so the way you can actually prepare is by thinking about the aspects and the importance of that particular occasion that you are, you know, going to perform your amal for. Shab-e Qadr, when you do it during Ramadan, we know that, you know, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr, wa ma adraka ma laylatul qadr, laylatul qadr khairun min alfi shahr. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. So when you're reciting that surah tells you that tonight is the night when the angels descend. When the angel descend, soul will descend to. You start thinking about what that soul could be. Is it the souls of my loved ones? Is it the souls of, you know, Masumin? Which particular soul is then the descended? Now all of a sudden, your focus is completely on that particular act of worship, that this is the night when the angels will come. This is the night when the angel descend. This is the night when, you know, the souls or soul will arrive down to the earth. So I think when you connect, that will bring in more, I think, value and thought and also meditation to that particular prayer. So each and every prayer has its own important sequence. Just thinking about it, reading a little bit, that will help you concentrate, and then you can then shut off all other things. Because if you're trying to really, manage 10 different things, we're neither here nor there. So 10 minutes, 15 minutes of amal that you could do with focus is far better than spending a night. So I think our Masumins have also said that, you know, contemplation, a 1 hour of contemplation is better than 70 years of worship. So I think, you know, that tells you that doing it with focus in such a way that when Imam Ali alayhi salam had an arrow in his foot, and whenever they tried to take it, he just couldn't, it was just too painful. And then somebody said that wait till Ali goes into his prayer mode. So when Imam Ali actually went into the prayer mode, he was just in a very different world, and you could take out the arrow. That is the essence of worship. Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam is known as Zainul Abidin. He is the pride of the worshipper. Nobody could actually do this And the shaitan wanted to test him, and he came and chewed on his, on his toes. And he did not feel a thing because he was completely in a different world. So I think, meditation and thinking with complete commitment to the cause and understanding the purpose will bring true meaning to your worship.
Very well said, Dr. Saab. I just wanted to add a couple of things I think which are relevant to both Faryal and Amira's question. One is with reference to your question on like doing it X number of times. And of course, we have a belief that whatever we are is being passed on to us or coming from some way or from, or some way or other from our Aimma Masumin. So they must have told their naibs and or other sahabis that, and it's coming down to us. But if it was that you have to do it, say 40 times, and it is fard, it would have come to you as fard and not as mustahab. So that's, so doing it 100 times is not necessary, because it might, okay, I only have 2 hours for amal today. I cannot do 100 rakat. Well, let me not do the amal. Would that be better? Or say, hey, you know what? It says 100 times. I only have 2 hours. I can only do, 20 or 30 rakats, and then do it, so that, do it at your pace, do it in to satisfy you. And that's my next point. Why are you doing that amal? Is very important for your satisfaction, because as Dr. Saab says, when you're praying, you're talking to God. And as I think Imam Ali says too, if I'm not wrong, Dr. Saab, please correct me, that if you want God to talk to you, read Quran, and if you want to talk to God, you pray. So you basically, why are you praying? Why are you doing that amal? Are you doing it just because your mom or your dad or or your uncle says you do it 40 times? Then your heart is not in it. But if you do it because if your why, answer to your why is, I want to please God, or I've committed X, Y, and Z sin, and I need to seek forgiveness, and this is the night of forgiveness, then I want to do this amal to give forgiveness. And what better way to ask forgiveness than to pray, than to thank Allah for whatever He has given to us, and then use the wasila of our masumin to ask for pardon. If that is in your mind, even if I ask you to do 100 rakat and you do 2 rakats, and that is in your mind, with the true intent of doing it, that should be satisfactory. Amira, to your question, how to prepare yourself, is basically just keep answering that question as to why am I doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm doing it, if I'm fasting because I want to cleanse myself, not the detoxification, like cleanse myself, and this is a means to do it, that's why I'm doing it. Or even not that complex, I just want to please Allah. If that's your thing, whatever moves you, right? Why you must be clear on your reason of why you're doing a certain thing. It's the same as education. We've talked about changing your fields of study midway. Dr. has talked about that. If you don't feel that it's giving you that satisfaction, or then move into something that would. So
also, I would like to add that in terms of numbers, you asked the question, why 100 times, why 34 times, why that times? Allah says in the Quran that we have created this universe on certain numbers. And those numbers we have actually told as well. And we know those numbers, and they have been written as well. So I think those numbers, I think one time we should do a program just on numbers as to what these numbers really are, what they mean. So I think those numbers are also have some secrets that we don't know, but asking that question will probe the curiosity in our mind to find out, why is it that the tasbih that we recite, what is the importance of that tasbih, and what is the background of the tasbih? Do you guys know what is the importance of tasbih? What is the significance?
I don't know if I'm right, but I guess it was because the baby used to recite it throughout the day.
Very good. May Allah bless you. So, she did go asking for some help from Prophet to help, somebody with the house activities, home activities. And Prophet didn't really respond. She came back, or she turned back halfway. And then Prophet came to her house and he told her this particular tasbih, which we'll call tasbih Fatima salamullah alaiha. That tasbih is also based on certain numbers. And those numbers actually have some significance and importance as well as to why is it that we recite that many times and what really is the benefit. Of course, we don't know the answers. And I think, but there is always, a reason that our Masumin and also our Maraje, our Ulama, our Fuqaha have recommended that it be recited that many times. But I think, as we talked about, it's really not the numbers. It is actually the quality of your worship that you put in, few minutes, few seconds that connects you with your Almighty, your 100 times is done.
Okay. I just wanted to add on to what everything's been discussed. I think sometimes we forget that, there's a bunch of things like going on around the world, and we have everyone has their own commitments and stuff. And I think it's important to realize that whatever you can do, if you try your best, then that's what matters. And I feel like that it's for everything, like in namaz and everything, in fasting. In amal, if you try your best and you know what your intention is, I think that's what Allah's gonna reward you. And if you just focus on yourself and just try your best, then I think that's what
yeah, true, Amira, and I agree with you. The only thing that I want to add, if I'm permitted, is basically you need, it's all good, you have this but then you have to have priorities in your life too, right? And there needs to be a certain priority given to. So for example, you pray namaz, right? Whatever is happening, you even pray it after time, but you pray it. There needs to be, we need to prioritize it too. You prioritize your day according to the needs, right? You go to school, you do the classes. Before you go to school, you finish your homework or assignment or whatever. That's it. That's the priority, right? Very similar to that is namaz, roza, salat, amal. What priority do you give to it? And that's, I think, that's the balance that we as human beings, as Muslims, need to come up with. For example, where do I put the priority of namaz in my day? So sometimes I pray it right where Azan is going on, finishing, starting right away. Sometimes you can't and you don't. Not that it is not your priority, but there are other mitigating circumstances that don't allow you. But then there are some people you would see that whatever happened, they dropped that thing and do namaz and go.
Yeah, I think
I'm not so sorry, Rasa. So I'm not saying that then that you should give up everything for that, but you and that's what you do in your daily life. You prioritize things, right? So I needed to meet my aunt, but hey, today I have so many other things I can't go. That's prioritizing, right? So what you're saying is good. Whatever gives you satisfaction, as much as gives you satisfaction. But then you need to give priority to that particular aspect of religion too, so that it stays in your life and stays with you. Sorry, Dr. Saab, go ahead. You were saying something.
I was actually, saying that one time I was performing Amal in a mosque and in Shab Qadr, as everybody tired, and there was a young kid was sitting right next to me. He's reciting tasbih, and then halfway, through, he gets up and says, "Dang it! 98, I almost messed up." you know, I don't remember whether it's 98 or 99. Should I start all over again? So I think, you know, those numbers get us distracted away from the actual cause and the purpose.
Yeah.
And I would like to really say something about, from the neuroscience perspective, you know, we humans, we were not programmed to really, you know, read or write. A monkey has a much better working memory in terms of number and counting how many times than I do. So if you display 60, 80 numbers on screen in an order, monkey will be able to pick all of them up in that order. But as humans, we can't do more than 7. That's why our phone numbers used to be, digits used to be 7. And so that's all our working memory used to be. So I think these practices are really meant to enhance your working memory, so you will remember how many times. And also when you are constantly repeating a particular word, what it does is that it automatically goes into your, you know, in your hippocampus part of the brain. And when you are sleeping, those words will keep coming back to you as a consolidated memory, which you retrieve. So I think, you know, the rote learning in that sense is important, because it actually changes your brain and you become much more spontaneous. And this is what I think, you know, sometimes the repetitions are helpful.
Okay, any other thoughts, Faryal and Amira, on this?
No, I was just like remembering everybody's number. I was like, yeah, everybody's phone number is always like 7 digits. Like I was trying to remember, like back home, like people who have numbers, like their cell phone number, and like over here, I'm like, oh, they've always been 7. So it all makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. So moving on. Unless you guys have any other questions, I just wanted to change the track a bit and ask Dr. Saab this question about we've heard about research, and I know a lot of people would be interested in youth, but the question is for me, like if I was in an academic field, when do I move into research and what is required, you know, on any particular topic?
That's really a great question and very pertinent as well, because you know, our medical school acceptance rate was 3.8. Engineering is along the same GPA. And the idea really there is that they are not only accepting you on a GPA basis, because there were 400 kids application that we reviewed this time, they had straight GPA. But yet the actual average of acceptance will be 2.7 or 2.8. So that means that the kids who had lower GPA also got in, and then those who had higher GPA didn't. What really mattered the most was their research experience. You know, how much research activity that they have been engaged, because that's the true form when you actually learn. Rather than just memorizing from the textbook. So you think about different kinds of projects. So when do you really start? It actually starts from kindergarten to when you come into grade 1, your research in, you know, activities should begin. You should participate in science fairs that are happening, you know, around in the city. You will go with your project, you will work with somebody to help you, even at home. Then when you come to grade 11, our province has a special program for grade 11 students. They pick 40 best students from different high schools, and they put them working with the professor for 2 months where they get full salary paid. So that allows them from grade 11 to actually get involved in research and understand all the methodology in the area that they are interested in pursuing, be that in engineering or medicine, you know, different disciplines. These kids get involved. And then a lot of children at the age of, you know, when they finish grade 12, they secure for 2 months, because they have only 2 months off, they secure really research positions, and they will volunteer. And they'll say, you know, I'd like to really work with you in your research. This is the area that I'm really interested in and excited in. I would like to be a volunteer. You write the letter to professor. and tell them why you want to work, and they will let you in. And this is where your research career, your exposure to science actually begins. And you know, why is it important? Now you have a professor who can write your reference letter. Now you have built a circle of influence whereby you will meet other students that are in the same cohort, and they're sharp, they're smart, they're just as clever as you are. And also you will meet many other professors. So all of a sudden you begin to create really a nexus of collaboration and partnership. And I think Amira talked about this as well, that you know, you need to really connect with people so that you could, you know, once you start university, that professor knows you and they know your work ethic and your research activities, you will get automatically hired for every summer. And by the time you finish, you already have, you know, spent 4 summers, which is equivalent to a master's degree program. Now you have opened up so many doors for yourself. Either you could go out of university, do a PhD, do a master's, or go into medical sciences or computer sciences, or whichever subject you are in, you actually open the door. So the time for research-related activities for parents, they should start when the kid is still in grade 1. You know, ask them to come up with a garbage bag that will collect, you know, garbage from maybe a lawnmower automatically, or grow a plant at home, you know, and what happens if you grow different plants with different lighting conditions. So these science projects, slowly and gradually, they grow. And when you are in university, you actually have a science background. And even if you don't choose science as your discipline, you now have enough know-how to raise your children and really teach them and train them in those disciplines.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Saab. So really and truly, basically saying that you start researching since you're in grade 1, or being able to think. But we will we'll put this topic on in a parking lot right now, because our next programs will be on job seeking. So all of this would come in handy. So we'll talk about research work and how it helps you when you go into the next phase of your life, that is job seeking and networking and so on and so forth. But for now, we'll come back to our topic of discussion. Does anyone of you, Priyal or Amira, have any questions that you may want to ask at this time?
I don't, like, my question right now would be, so research is only done, I believe, in the science field, or is it like, can it be done in like arts field, like communication, like mass communications, or like, can it be done in any field?
Absolutely. And I think, you know, the chances of, you know, arts and communication are even greater. So Canada has 3 granting agencies. One is the Canadian Institute of Health Research, whereby all the health-related research is supported. Then you have NSERC, which is really, you know, natural sciences, which will involve engineering and computer science and what have you. And then the third is the social sciences and natural, you know, social sciences and humanities, all those aspects. And they have their own, you know, summer student scholarships, they have graduate scholarships, and they also have, you know, their postdoctoral scholarships as well. So, and then the research funding. So many professors will have funding for art, you know, culture, literature, science. You know, they are really, really important. During the Second World War, you know, England was having financial crisis and big trouble. They were running out of money and they needed to cut. So the cabinet ministers and the caucus, you know, they said, well, let's cut social sciences, arts, humanities. We don't need them, poetry, arts, culture, literature. And there are soft sciences, we should cut them. We should cut the Medicare, we should cut the education. And the Churchill got up. So Churchill said, then what are we fighting for, right? What it is that we're fighting for. So I think all of these disciplines make up the society, and there is research in every aspect of it. And there are funding agencies that will support research in, for example, political science, history, social sciences, arts, humanities, you name it. There is research that is also supported throughout, all academic institutions that you could really participate anytime.
Yeah, people do PhDs in Islamic histories. You can pick up, okay, what is the importance of fasting, or some question like that is, boggles people's mind or your mind, and then you research it. People pick up personalities and research them. There's been research on Najul Balaga. There's been research on Malali. So it's not restricted to science. It feels like it is, but really it is not. It's just research is basically picking up a question or thinking of a question or a concern, and then finding out facts about it, or creating setting up a hypothesis, and collecting data and answering it. So it could be anything. So having said that, any other questions, though? Following up on research. So basically was looking into see, like, if youth is interested in this, people who are listening, or Mira and Faryal, if they're interested in research, like, what are the tips and tricks? I know you mentioned a few things here, but like, how do they go about doing it? How do they get into a research program?
That's really a great question. So, the most important thing, and we talked about this earlier as well, that you can only go from good to great in the area that you're good at. And you know yourself what you're good at. But the problem is our younger generation is good at too many things. So these choice in the end cause paralysis. They don't know which, parents try to sometimes relive their dream through children. If you're not a doctor, nobody will respect you. If you're not an engineer, which is all really bogus in that sense, because if you are not complete without any of these, you will never be complete with them. And Jesus never went to medical school. He could still heal and cure. So you don't need an MD to become a doctor, right? So he could even bring the dead to life. So then you ask yourself what it is that you are most interested in, most passionate about, so you always see yourself in a particular discipline. Dr. Stephen Covey said that you begin with end in mind. And he gave the examples that, you are going with somebody and all of a sudden it's a funeral, somebody died, the community got together and everybody's dressed in black and they're going through the main hallway, and then on the stage is a casket. And then everybody is going and looking at the deceased and paying their respect and going and sitting on their seats. And he says that, as you go and pass by that casket, you look at the dead body, it's actually you. You died, right? You are in that casket. So you are lying in there dead. And he says, come to your seat. There will be a pamphlet, a program. There will be 4 speakers that will come to talk to you. One of them is your family member, is it your dad or your mom or your siblings. What would they say about you? And then the next speaker is your, close friend. What would a friend come and say about you? The third one, you have somebody from, your community, and they will ask you, what kind of community member. A fourth one is your coworker that you work with. So sit down and listen. What would they say about you? Write that down. You have written the charter of your life, right? So you begin with end in mind. So when you're thinking about research or researching in a particular area, where would you like to see yourself in the end of your career? You want to be a professor? You want to be a doctor or an engineer or a scholar of different nature? You see yourself there, and then you really pick that area. You do homework, you go through all the professors in the university, and you see who is doing research in that area that aligns with your passion and your expertise, and then write them a letter. do some homework, read up on them, write your letter, and ask the question really what it is that that they are doing. You tell them that I read your paper. It's really exciting, interesting research, and it aligns with my passion, and I would like to be part of this. So when that actually happens, you send a letter, you have mentioned name, of that individual, that professor who's doing research in a particular area, and they will take you seriously because you have taken them seriously. And when you say that I can help you achieve your goal, you will get an immediate response. And then tell them that I would like to really work and do some research as a volunteer. What can I do? How can I really help assist you really reaching your goals and targets? That really is a key. And we talked about earlier as well, that, if you like cheesecake and gulab jamun and ras malai or jalebi, you don't take it when you go fishing. You take what fish likes. Otherwise, you catch cold and no fish. You can sit there all day with a little jalebi hanging. So the important thing really is that tell them how you could help them get really what they're looking for and they want. And they would really like to get you on board. That nobody can refuse.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Saab. And I hope that, provides some semblance to the question, some response is answers to the question. Sorry, I'm fumbling a bit. It's about time to end this program. Before I do that, any last comments from the participants? If not, then we'll end today's program. Silence means no, so I'll take that as an answer. So thank you so much today, Dr. Saab. Some great responses and some great insights. Amira and Faryal, good questions, good discussion today. This is what we want to promote, have discussions, we just don't want our youth to ask questions, but also to share their point of view. And then on the screen, you will see a couple of numbers coming here. You can WhatsApp us if you have a question. Or if you want to participate in person in the program. The program is recorded on Zoom, so anywhere in the world you can participate. Thank you again, everyone, for being here today. May Allah bless you all, and we'll see you in the next program with the topic at that point of time will be job seeking. Thank you, and have a nice day.